Good evening and warm welcome at the Thinking Palette platform. In this video, I will discuss the Test-2 of Men's Paper 2 under the hand-holding program. And this video is entirely based on my experience of getting 75 marks in 2013 and how I have secured 121 marks in 2018. Okay, so now moving into the discussion of the first question, that is aspirational district program aims to address governance issue by using a combination of approach but not free from challenges. In this question you will have to first talk about the strategy of ADP and second challenges with this strategy. However, there are not too much of challenges of ADP because the ADP has also made a success and it has been revealed in the recent survey where there has been observed that there is a rising institutional birth delivery, there is a rising registration of pregnancies of the women, but we will have to highlight the challenges with respect operational challenges I must say, and then I will also talk about some of the innovative mechanism to make the ADP a success. These are the three different parameters on which you need to focus equally in your answer. Because this question demands an equal engagement of all these three parts, that is approach, challenge and innovative mechanism. So now in this question your introduction can be that ADP is based on the idea of sabka saath sabka vikas. Why I am telling sabka saath sabka vikas? It is because that whenever you will look into the design of the ADP, we are focusing on 115 backward district. So in order to bring the equality amongst the district and amongst the state, ADP has been thought of to implement. Understood? So the next part is what is the strategy? This will be your body part, that is strategy of ADP. It is based on collaboration. Second, competition. Third, convergence. Here, convergence means that there will be a convergence between the schemes of central government and state government. Okay. And collaboration means the collaboration between the officers or officials of a state government and central government, along with their collaboration with civil society, NGO, and philanthropist. Okay, some of the NGO, that is Lupin Foundation, Piramal Foundation, is working in order to make ADP a success. The next part is competition. Here, competition, what kind of competition and how the competition will be ensured under the ADP. For that, we will have to look into that what are the different parameters based on which the ranking is being provided to these different districts of the different states. So now, for the competition, there are different elements where the ADP is focusing upon. The first is health, second is education, third is agriculture, fourth is basic infra, and fifth is financial inclusion and skill development. Now, in order to give the ranking, certain weightage has been allocated. 30% weightage has been allocated to health and education, 20% on the agriculture and water resource, and 10% on basic infrastructure and financial inclusion. Now, you understood that how the ranking is being given to these particular districts. After that, what you can do, you will have to talk about the challenges that ADP is focusing on. Challenges. The first challenge that ADP is facing with respect to data. Now under the data, there are two problems. First is real-time data. Actually, whenever you are giving ranking to these different districts, you must have the real-time data. But they are basically relying on historical data. This is first challenge. Second challenge is Niti Aayog itself has admitted that we do not have the data on all the 48 parameters. These 48 parameters are basically divided on the different elements of health, education, basic infra, financial inclusion, and agriculture. Now Niti Aayog says that we have only the data with respect to 28 parameters. So basically it raises question on the methods of the ranking itself. The second challenge that it is facing is with respect to threat to cooperative federalism. Understood? Now here what I want to make here is cooperative federalism. Just I have talked about, there is a Prabhari officer, that is a central level officer, which is being appointed by the central government in order to look into the strategy of ADP with respect to its implementation at the state level. So now some of the states like West Bengal and Kerala are of the view that Prabhari officers are acting as an eye and ear of the central government. Understood? Now the third issue. Third challenge is with respect to the basic factor like per capita income of the district is not being utilized in determining the ranking of particular district. It is being considered that the per capita income of any district is a significant measure in order to understand that how the district is making progress in terms of social and economic parameters. So it is completely missing. Understood? Now after that, you can also give some of the best models under ADP if you want, and if you feel that it can be incorporated in your answer, then you can talk about the very first is Project Smart Sala. Project Smart Sala in Dantewara district. Okay. What happened here is it has been observed that there is rising drop rate and rising absenteeism. Then it has been thought that how we can make our classroom much more engaging, and then they have started a digital classroom. Okay. Another best model I can talk about, this is Arogya Kunji. What is Arogya Kunji? This is in the Chatra district of Jharkhand. Under this Arogya Kunji, ASA workers are providing sanitary pad and contraceptives. Sanitary pad and contraceptives. So basically this will help in achieving the parameter under the health, and this will help in achieving the parameter under education. Understood? So now we will move into the last part of the question, that is innovative mechanism. So now innovative mechanism, the very first thing which I can think of is first, as there is a problem of data, that is with respect to collecting data, analyzing data, storing data, so we can take the help of the graduates from IIT. Then we can also take the help of graduates from TIS and Asoka University, because they have a good approach and understanding with respect to the social and economic aspect, as they are the students who have done the research in humanities. Okay. Third suggestion which we can give is the ranking is entirely based on quantity. So we need to focus on the ranking based on quality. Okay. And the last point I can talk about, that we need to widen the horizon of the parameters. How? I am just giving you an example. For example, the participation of the women and women empowerment is being measured in the terms of their improving parameters under health and education. But one of the best parameter to decide that whether women are empowered or not is with respect to the participation of women in the workforce. Participation in the workforce. And this parameter is completely missing while giving rankings to these different parameters or for the women empowerment. So these are the things which you can mention in your answer. Understood? So now moving to the question number 2. The role of NGO in developmental process cannot be denied. So now this is the first part where we need to address, but has always been in question because of its undemocratic functioning. This is the second part. Now, in the last question, we have observed that we need to focus equally on the different parts of the question. But here, we need to focus briefly here and we need to elaborate this part. Now, this is the philosophy of the question, that you will have to understand that where to focus and how much to focus. Understood? Now, the third part, this is very different, that is comment in the light of FCRA. We will go into the guidelines of the Home Ministry with respect to FCRA. And the last part is that you will have to give suggestion to bring transparency and accountability in the functioning. Understood? So now, in this question, we have four parts. The first part, we need to give only 10%, second part 30%, third part 30%. Here you will have to talk about much more in elaborate, then you can go up to 40 to 45%. And the last part, that is suggestion, the remaining is of the suggestion part. Okay. Now we will move into that what is the exact demand. What I feel that most of the aspirants feel problem in introducing such kind of simple question, that how I can introduce my question on NGO. Now I am giving you ready-made introduction which can be used in any question asked on NGO. Understood? So now you can say that NGO is a voluntary organization that supplements the role of a state. Here the role of government you can say also, in order to achieve the welfare state enshrined in the DPSP under Article 35 to 51, sorry, 36 to 51. Okay. Now, this will give a comprehensive and holistic understanding of your any question with respect to NGO, because now you are linking the question with the part of your constitution. Now after that, you can talk about that what is the role of NGO. Here you have to give a very brief analysis. There you can say that NGO helps in achieving the social democracy and economic democracy. Understood? So now under the social democracy, again you can divide your answer under the health, education and tribal development. Then you can name some of the NGO. For example, I am giving under the health, Rural Healthcare Foundation. In education, I am talking about the Cry and Barefoot College. Tribal Development Nandi Foundation. You can also give we can also give articles related to that. For example, Article 47, Article 45 you can give. Then economic democracy, here you can link to the ambitious government program of skill development. Here in the skill development you can mention some of the NGO like Yuva Parivartan. They are basically providing skills to those who are the dropouts from the school. So this is the role where you need to briefly discuss about that. After that, the second part is with respect to elaborate functioning, that how it is undemocratic, that how the NGO are working in an undemocratic manner. So basically this is the issue with the NGO which is being asked to you. Now the very first issue is with respect to funding. Okay. Funding is of two types, that is internal funding and external funding. Okay. In internal funding, you can talk about membership fees and also subscription fees. In external funding, the source is foreign source and government source. Now it has been observed and it has been highlighted by IB report that the anti-developmental protest by some of the NGO is leading to the loss of 2 to 3% of the GDP. And they also have given evidence that about $40,000 has been sent into the account of convener for People's Movement of Nuclear Energy. Convener for People's Movement of Nuclear Energy. Now this 40,000 has been sent by Ohio University. Now the question arises that why this university and what is the role of university in giving the funds and depositing it into the bank account of NGO and of those NGO who are staging the protest against the Kundakulam nuclear power plant. This is the first issue. Second issue is with respect to the transparency. Again, it has been highlighted by CBI that around 10% of 22 lakh of NGO registered under Societies Registration Act have not filed their income return and do not maintain the balance sheet. This is the thing which you can mention, highlighting the lack of transparency in the functioning of NGO. Now, I want to tell you one thing, that how the NGO are registered in India, so that there will not be any kind of confusion with you. NGO in India are registered under Societies Registration Act, Indian Trust Act, and Section 8 of Companies Act. Section 8 of Companies Act. Now 22 lakh of NGO are registered under Societies Registration Act, and they have talked about only the NGO registered under SRA. Now you will tell that why there are three different arrangements. Now the NGO who are registered under Section 8 of Companies Act are abiding by the clauses of the Companies Act, and therefore there is a high chance that they are maintaining transparency and accountability in their functioning, and the consequence of this is that they can easily get government funding. Understood? But that is not the case with the NGO registered under Society Registration Act and Indian Trust Act. Okay. Now the third issue with the functioning of NGO is the nexus between the corporate and NGO. This is the third issue. It has been observed that how this nexus operates, that I am just giving you one hypothetical example so that it will be easy for you to understand that what is happening. Now 100 crore rupees, suppose, is being forwarded into the account of NGO in the September month of 2020. After that, that corporate will get the tax exemption from the government. After getting tax exemption, the NGO will return the amount, that is 100 crore, by deducting 1.5 or 2% of the charge. So basically they are deducting approximately about 15 crore and sending remaining, that is 85 crore, into the account of corporate, and they have already got the tax exemption of 30 to 40 crore. So there is a loss of only 10 to 15 crore. So in this way the entire corporate NGO nexus operates. Now the next part of our question is with respect to FCRA guidelines. So you must know about that what are the recent FCRA guidelines. The very first thing which you should know with respect to FCRA is all the NGO who are receiving the funds from foreign source must be registered with Home Ministry. Okay. Second, they must give the details of the funding which they are getting from the foreign source within 30 days, and they can take the money from the foreign source only through designated banks, that is SBI and some other banks also, but that will be designated by the Home Ministry. They will also have to they also have to reveal that what is the source of that fund and what is the manner of the use of those funds. Any non-compliance with the guidelines will invite the cancellation of registration. Understood? So these are the things which has been in the news for the last 3 years with respect to the amendments in the FCRA guidelines. But before 3 or 4 months, there has been certain guidelines which has been added to FCRA. So we will go into the details of that also. The first is all the office bearers of the NGO and the key functionaries, or you can say the key officials of the NGO, will have to certify that they have never been convicted. Okay. Second thing, they will also have to give affidavit. That they will not divert the use of the fund. Diversion of the fund simply means that, for example, they are getting the fund for X work, they will devote that fund for only X, not for Y kind of the work. Understood? This is the recent guidelines. Now the last part of our question is with respect to the suggestions which you want to give to bring transparency and accountability in the system. So first suggestion you can talk about that the national policy on voluntary sector. This national policy on voluntary sector basically talks about building the capacity of the staffs working in NGO and NGO as a whole. Second is accreditation. Accreditation simply means that you are giving ranking. You are giving ranking to the NGO based on the parameters that they are using to bring transparency and accountability. And after that, based on those parameters and ranking, it will be easy for them to get the funds from the government. So in order to get the funds from the government, obviously they will bring the measures for transparency and accountability. Now, lastly, you can talk about the recommendation given by S. Vijay Kumar committee. This committee says that all the details of the NGO should be in searchable database. Second, there should be a nodal agency to oversee the government interface, or you can say that there must be a nodal agency to look after the interface between the government and NGO. Okay, and till the time you are not establishing any nodal agency, then Niti Aayog can administer the interface between the government and the NGO. So now in this way, we have looked at two questions, and in both the questions, the demand has been segregated differently. In the first question, there needs to be put an equal emphasis on all the parts. But in this question, we have focused unequally depending on the different demands of the question. This is the beauty of answer writing, because if you are not understanding the question, then you will write anything which comes in your mind, and then you will get any marks which the examiner want. Okay, because it entirely depends. So now moving to question number 3, that Indian judiciary, despite playing extraordinary role in upholding the respect and trust, is facing external and internal challenges. Now in this question, this is little bit different from the last two questions, because if you will talk only about this, that is external and internal challenges, then also the purpose of answering this question will be solved. You don't need to talk about this upholding the respect and the trust. You will have to talk only about external and internal challenges. So you will have to understand the philosophy of the question, that where the question lies. It is not that the question is demanding to address each and every part equally. Understood? So in this question, we will look into only internal and external challenges, and then we will give certain suggestions to bring reform in the judiciary. Only we need to focus upon these three different parameters. So now we will first introduce this question without looking into the question, because I don't know that what is this question all about, but I can give the ready-made introduction to such question. How? We can say that judiciary, judges basically, what is the role of judiciary? They are the guarantor and protector. They are the guarantor and protector of the fundamental rights. Then you can also talk about that the envisaged role of the judiciary is reflected in Article 39A of DPSP, that is to provide justice to the poor people. This is basically the ready-made introduction which you can give, because this simple introduction reflects that how much trust we have in the judiciary as an institution. After that, you can easily divide your answer, that what are the internal and what are the external challenges. Understood? So now the first thing, the external challenges to the Indian judiciary. Here, what point I want to make is with respect to the tussle of power between the parliament and judiciary. We all know that the parliament has the ultimate power of the lawmaking, and to check the validity and whether it is arbitrary, the law, which is the job of judiciary. So basically they will go for judicial review of such laws to determine its validity or whether it is void. Understood? Now, in this course of time or in this course of power struggle, judiciary has come out with judicial activism. And judicial activism is always alleged to violate the principle of separation of power. And Parliament always says, likewise, late Mr. Arun Jaitley has once said that brick by brick or edifice by edifice, the judiciary is entering into the domain of the parliament. Okay. Now, we also know that how the appointment is being done, and what is the role of parliament, and sorry, what is the role of the government with respect to the appointment of the judges. Okay, so the first point you can relate like this. The second point, the appointment. Obviously, appointment is done by the collegium system. The judges are forwarding the name of the senior most judges, and then they will be appointed by the president on the recommendation of the central government. But what the central government is doing? Central government is not taking any action on the name forwarded by the collegium. So basically, this is resulting into the vacancy. Okay, and vacancy simply means that it is being reflected that in India we have 18 judges per million and in USA we have 82 judges per million. This is the vacancy, and this is reflected in the pending of the cases. According to National Judicial Data Grid, we have the 3 crore of the cases pending, and in 3 crore 86% of the cases pending in subordinate court, 13.8% in High Court, and 0.2% in Supreme Court. So this is the external challenges that the judiciary is facing. Now we will come into the internal challenges of the judiciary. So now the first internal challenges I can talk about: the corruption in judiciary. Second is transfer of judges. Third is master of roster case. Fourth is biasness. Okay, so now coming to the very first thing, corruption. Now I will advise you one thing, that you should not name the judge in your answer, but just for the sake of understanding I am giving the name of the judge. For example, Justice A.N. Shukla. Justice A.N. Shukla of Allahabad High Court. Allahabad High Court. He has been alleged of using his power in the case of admission to the medical college in the Lucknow, and it was considered by Chief Justice of the Allahabad Court that yes, there is a point of mistrust on the A.N. Shukla, and there is a point of telling that A.N. Shukla has misused his power. Likewise, Andhra Pradesh High Court. Andhra Pradesh High Court has suspended the special judge of the CBI who was alleged to took the bribe in the case of illegal mining. Okay, so this you can highlight under the case of corruption. Now transfer. Now this is my personal understanding that the transfer of the judges is for the administration of the justice. Okay, so whenever there is a transfer of any judge, the judge cannot say that he is being transferred in an arbitrary manner. However, we cannot isolate our understanding from the point that sometimes the transfer is also being done in the arbitrary manner or in the biased manner. Okay, and the best example which I can give here is Justice Jayant Patel. Justice Jayant Patel of Gujarat High Court has been sent to Allahabad High Court, and it is being said that he has been sent to Allahabad High Court only with the purpose that his seniority gets lowered and he cannot be the judge or the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Understood? And the Chief Justice of India. So this kind of allegation in the case of transfer of the judges basically erodes the trust the people have on the judiciary. Understood? Now you can also talk about the lady judge who has been transferred from the Chennai High Court to the Meghalaya and later on she resigned. Okay, so there is the ambiguity and there is not any clear understanding that why transfer is being done. But yes, it is alleged that transfer is being done in an arbitrary manner. Alleged. Okay. Now the third thing is master of roster. If you can remember, then in 2018, the four senior most judges came into public and the have questioned the allocation of the case by CGI. Now, master of the roster simply means that who has the power to direct that particular case will go before that particular bench. This is being done by the Chief Justice of India. It is alleged that Chief Justice of India is sending the matter of political issue to that bench only who has some kind of you can say who has some kind of collusion with the ruling party, and they are saying that the matter of constitutional importance is being sent to the lower bench judge. However, it should be sent to at least 5 bench judge. So this is the kind of allegation. Understood? Now the last is biasness. Supreme Court itself has highlighted in NJSC case that there can be two types of biasness, that is presumed biasness and second is apparent biasness amongst the judge. Now the judge will say that judge never do or never give any biased judgment, but when the judge have pecuniary interest in any case, it is called presumed biasness. And when a rational observer would believe that there is a real possibility that the judge is biased, this is an apparent biasness. And the Supreme Court itself has said that we cannot deny that there are presumed biasness and apparent biasness in the conduct of the judges. So these are the things which you can mention under the internal challenges of the judiciary. Now after that, you will have to give suggestion with respect to bringing reform in the judiciary. So now the very first suggestions which you can give is All India Judicial Service. This is not that for the first time we are talking about All India Judicial Service. The first Law Commission has itself talked about that we need All India Judicial Service to check the piling of the cases and bring reform in the appointment system. Second, you can talk about that we all know that the government is the largest litigant. Government is the largest litigant. And therefore, Department of Justice, Ministry of Law and Justice has recommended that there should be a nodal officer at the level of Joint Secretary, and he will help in resolution of the disputes. Okay. Now next you can talk about to bring accountability amongst the judges. How we can bring accountability? We all know that we have Judicial Standards and Accountability Bill. The time has come to change it into act. And second, you can also talk about that there should be code of conduct that judges needs to follow. Then you can also talk about that we need to put emphasis on increasing our ADR mechanism, alternative dispute resolution. These are of 4 types: arbitration, conciliation, mediation, and negotiation. These are the 4 methods of ADR. You can also talk about that we can have the certain kind of management system like the Crown management system of UK. Here we need to prioritize our different cases, that which cases needs the priority to be settled down. So in this way you can give the suggestion to bring reform in the judiciary. Okay, I hope you are understanding that how I am addressing the question. Now question number 4, that what are regulatory bodies, and do you think that the time has come to regulate the regulators in the wake of its non-functioning and inefficient working? Okay, and you will have to explain with the case study. First thing, that you must be aware of the definition of the regulatory body, and I think that most of you find problem in defining the regulatory bodies. Okay, I will make this job very simple for you, that how to define the regulatory bodies. Then you will have to talk about the issue and the challenges with the regulatory body with the case study. Though the question is not asking you to give suggestion, but my suggestion to you is that although this is a 15 marker question, you must give certain suggestion to bring the reform in the working of regulatory bodies. Even if it is a 10 marker question, then also I will suggest you to write one or two suggestion in your answer. Okay. So now, what are regulatory bodies? The very first thing. Basically, regulatory body are the public organization or the government agency that is set up to exercise the regulatory function. I know that you all are not very much convinced with my definition. Now you will be convinced. Regulatory body is a public organization or government agency that performs the regulatory function, and the regulatory function are of three types, that is setting standards, imposing restriction and enforcing compliance. अभी भी अगर तुम खुश नहीं हो तो एक एग्जांपल से मैं समझा देता हूँ. FSSI. FSSI is setting the standards that the percentage of the sodium in Lay's chips should not be more than, for example, 0.8%. So this is the standard setting. If the Lay's chips is not obeying it, then the enforcing the compliance of this is also the job of the regulatory body. Now I hope that you have understood that what is the meaning of regulatory body. But I think that this part is of 3 to 4 marks. So you can also talk about that regulatory body is of two types. The first is statutory regulatory body and the second is self-regulatory authority. Example of the self-regulatory authority is News Broadcast Standard Authority. News Broadcast Standard Authority. Example of a statutory regulatory body is FSSI, SEBI, TRI. Understood? Now I hope that you have understood that what is regulatory body. Now, in the second part, I will talk about that what are the challenges that these regulatory bodies are facing. Issues with this regulatory body. The first issue is independence. Basically, they are not independent at all. They will have to depend on the line department and ministries for their budget and staff sanction. Second challenge is with respect to regulatory sprawl. तुम जहाँ पे देखो हर जगह गवर्नमेंट किसी भी काम के लिए एक रेगुलेटरी बॉडी बना देती है. हर काम के लिए रेगुलेटरी बॉडी बनाने से क्या होता है ना, कुछ दिन के बाद ओवरलैपिंग होने लगती है गवर्नमेंट बॉडी में, और हर काम के लिए रेगुलेटरी बॉडी बन जाती है तो फिर उसका कोई इंपॉर्टेंस नहीं होता है. तो दिस यू कैन मेंशन इन द रेगुलेटरी स्प्रॉल. थर्ड, ओवरलैपिंग. I can give the example of overlapping in one of the case that is with respect to that who has the authority over the point of interconnection issue. Point of interconnection issue between Jio versus Airtel. This was the issue came in the news. Then Competition Commission of India says that this is related to cartelization, so I have the authority, and TRI says that this is related to telecom, so I have the authority. So this is the problem. And the next is you can also talk about efficiency. Just I can give the example of the regulator under motor vehicle department. Now, do you think that the motor vehicle department is efficient in the terms of the rising number of vehicles? Because the number of vehicles is rising, but the compliance with using the vehicles with respect to its pollution standards, with respect to its engine standards, etc. are being followed? No. So this is the issue with the regulatory body. Understood? Now, case study you are required to give in this answer because the question is specifically asking for that. So now case study I can give that a CAG study on the working of FSSI. CAG study have revealed that 65 out of 72 state food lab of FSSI does not have NABL accreditation. This is the issue. And it has also been highlighted that in 50% of the cases where FSSI has given license, they have not asked for proper document. This is highlighting the inefficient working of regulatory body. Understood? So now we will move to the last part of the question, that is with respect to suggestions which is required to be mentioned. Suggestion here you can talk about with respect to the appointment. Now, appointment of the chairman is being done by the central government even today, but the suggestion that it should be done by the selection government after the name forwarded by selection committee, and there should be uniformity in the process of appointment and the age and the tenure of the chairman, that is it should be of 3 years or 65 years of age for all the regulatory body. Second point, second ARC have suggested that there should be kind of parliamentary oversight over the functioning of these regulators. It simply means that these regulators will have to come before the parliamentary standing committee and will have to answer the questions. Okay. Third, you can talk about that we can have the procedures to make it more transparent and citizen friendly. For example, in taxation, we are focusing on self-assessment now. Another example which I can give is that there should be the principle of voluntary compliance, because we have seen that the regulatory bodies are also mired with corruption, because for everything you are required to take the compliance certificate from them. Therefore, we should have the principle of voluntary compliance. Okay, so these are the suggestions which you can give in your answer. Understood? I hope you are enjoying the discussion and you are understanding. So now moving to question number 5, that is the problem of hunger and poverty is well recognized but fraught with challenges in reducing the both. Analyze the reason behind this in a special context of multidimensional poverty index. Now this question is different from the last 4 questions which we have discussed. How it is different? Because it is talking about some kind of interconnection you need to establish in your introduction. We have not seen such question which where we have discussed the last 4 questions that you will have to establish any kind of relationship, but here you will have to establish relationship between hunger and poverty in your introduction, and then you will have to analyze that whether and how it is well recognized, that how the government has recognized the problem of hunger and poverty. Then, what are the challenges with respect to reducing poverty and hunger? And after that, you will have to do the analysis in the special context of multidimensional poverty index. Here, the word special means that you will have to give just a brief understanding of multidimensional poverty index. इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि सारे क्वेश्चन को इसके लाइन पे लिखना है, क्योंकि मैंने यहाँ वर्ड यूज किया है स्पेशल. अगर मैं कहता कि एनालाइज द रीजन इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ मल्टी डायमेंशनल, तो तुम कर सकते थे, कुछ आंसर्स को मोल्ड कर सकते थे अकॉर्डिंग टू मल्टी डायमेंशनल पॉवर्टी इंडेक्स. अंडरस्टूड? नाउ मूविंग टू the relation between hunger and poverty, but before that I just want to give you certain data that 1 out of 9 people in the world do not have enough food and they are hungry. And likewise, 821 million people in the world are hungry. This is the report of a state of food security and nutrition. State of food security and nutrition. Okay. Now, to establish the relation between poverty and hunger, I am just using one diagram for you, and this will be too much beneficial for you in answer writing. Now, how to establish link? Poverty. What is the consequence of poverty? Low income or fluctuating income. यही होगा. What is the consequence of low income and fluctuating income? That you will invest only in basic goods. You will not invest in nutritious food and education of your children. If you are not investing in nutritious food, then basically you are moving towards undernourishment, malnutrition, and wasting. And basically this is the definition of the hunger according to Project Hunger. that hungry is equal to undernourishment, malnutrition, and wasting, and this is the consequence of not taking nutritious food, and not taking nutritious food is the output of the low income, and this is the poverty. In this way you are establishing the relationship. Now the second part is how it is well recognized. Well recognized in the terms that you must be aware of that what are the steps taken by the government in which they are addressing poverty and hunger. The very first thing is the approach of the government has been the growth oriented approach of 1950. The growth oriented approach says that as the number of GDP is increasing, the trickle down effect will be observed, and this trickle down effect basically will bring the prosperity amongst all. However, it has not happened. Second is poverty alleviation program. Poverty alleviation program. And the third is basically with respect to providing minimum basic goods. And the example here is PDS, ICDS, and midday meal scheme. And the best example of the poverty alleviation program which has been thought in the third 5-year plan is food for work. Basically, this has been the steps taken by the government which is well recognized. However, the next part you will have to address that it is fraught with challenges. So what has been the challenges, we will have to look into this. Okay. Now, challenges or issue. The very first you can mention that the resource allocation. Resource allocation here means budgetary allocation. It doesn't mean that the government is not allocating the fund, but this is not adequate in addressing the problem of hunger and poverty both. Understood? Now the second problem you can say is unequal distribution of the land is also one of the major reason for the poverty. And undoubtedly, whenever I am talking about poverty, I am talking about hunger because I have established the relationship between these two in my introduction. Okay. Third is, it is depend mainly on government officer and bank officers. And these bank officers and the government officials, we all know that are mired with corruption and red tapeism. Next issue is with respect to, you can also talk about the social dimension of the poverty. Because most of the poverty which you can observe among the SC/ST, and one of the social dimension I can also link into that just from my observation, that if the food is being prepared under midday meal scheme by the women from SC/ST community, then that food is not being accepted by the children of the higher class or higher caste. So basically it is leading to the lack of nutrients in the rural areas especially. So these are the things which you can mention in your answer. Okay. So now you will have also talk about the multidimensional poverty index. Why I have mentioned multidimensional poverty index, it is because we are looking into the poverty from one dimension. That one, if we are giving certain calorie or certain you can say the household consumption is of that much or is of that quantity, then that person is not poor. Just I am giving you passing reference of YK Alag committee. What this YK Alag committee says, that those who are living in urban areas and having 2400 calorie and 2100 calorie in rural areas, then they are not poor. What is this going on? Recently Tendulkar committee, what the Tendulkar committee has said? Tendulkar committee has said that 32 rupees per capita per day in the urban areas, if someone is spending 32 rupees per day, then he is not poor. And if someone is spending 26 rupees per day in rural area, then he is not poor. What is going on here? Okay. Likewise, Rangarajan has said that whosoever is spending 7,305 rupee in urban areas, that is a family of 5, then he is not poor. And those who are spending 4,680 rupees and the family of 5 in rural areas, those are not poor. What is all this going on? Can you say that 7,305 rupees for the month in the urban areas is enough for the family of 5? Undoubtedly no. So this is the understanding that how we are coming with our poverty line estimation. And therefore, Professor Amartya Sen has said that this is a unidimensional analysis of the poverty which is of no use, and he has talked about the multidimensional poverty index. Okay. Now, under the multidimensional poverty index, there is a focus on identification of beneficiaries along with measuring the intensity of poverty. And intensity of poverty is being measured on the three parameters, that is education, health, and living standards. Okay, living standards simply means that whether you are using the drinking water supply or not, whether you are using the gas or coal as a cooking supply or cooking fuel. So in this way, multidimensional poverty index analyze the poverty, understanding its intensity and widening the understanding of the poverty, not only from the perspective of consumption and the calorie, but from the perspective of education, health, and living standard. Understood? Now, after that, you can also give suggestion, because I always focus on suggestion part in the answer. So now, suggestion, how we can remove poverty. Obviously, we cannot remove, but yes, we can reduce. The very first thing in the suggestion part of reducing the poverty, you can say that microfinance program has been the successful model in Bangladesh, and it is being used in India also, but there are too many challenges with microfinance. We need to focus on increasing the extent or increasing the reach of microfinance. Okay. Second, we can go like self-reliant food bank. It will be based on community development program, and this self-reliant food bank is very much popular in Africa. Then you can talk about, we will have to focus on agricultural productivity. It doesn't mean that I am talking about increasing the yield of rice and wheat. I am talking about bringing the diversity in our crop basket, our cereal basket. Basically, I want to talk about that we should focus on ragi, bajra, and other cereals. Okay, coarse cereals which have a high nutrition. Then you can also talk about that the Niti Aayog has talked about the MG Narega implementation, whether they are focusing on the workers in the Manrega should be engaged in agriculture field during the agricultural season, and there should be focus on asset creation rather than gadda kiya, gadda khoda, gadda bhar diya. Okay, so these are the things which you can mention in your answer. Obviously, you can talk about some of the government scheme with respect to checking hunger and poverty, that is Poshan Abhiyan. You can talk. You can also give some of the best model in India also, that is Maharashtra National Nutrition Mission. Maharashtra National Nutrition Mission has been successful because they have focused on women right from the pregnancy till she gives the birth. Okay, so in this way you can address the question with respect to poverty and hunger, addressing all the parts of the. So now we are moving to question number 6. But before the discussion of the question number 6, I must tell you one thing, that you will find that the statement of the 10 marker question is little bit difficult to comprehend. It is little bit difficult to comprehend in the sense, it is not that you don't know about that particular topic, but you don't have in-depth understanding of the governance and its application. So watch the video and understood that what are the different keywords, what are the different points which I am highlighting while the discussion. It is very important to cover or to tackle any question in the UPSC mains examination. So now the first question is, SHG role in financial inclusion has been time tested. However, their contribution has been well recognized in the time of pandemic. It simply means that you will have to talk something about that how SHG role in the financial inclusion is the time tested one, and then what role they have played in the time of pandemic like COVID. And then you will have to talk about that what are the steps taken by the government. Here while discussion you will understand that how I demarcate the steps taken by the government whenever I am writing any point under the steps of the government. Understood? So now the philosophy of the question is that you must understood that what has been the idea behind the formation of SHG, because the philosophy of the question will help you in writing the introduction of such kind of question which is very much open-ended. So now moving to the demand of the question. Now in introduction, you can define the SHG. SHG is a group of voluntary organization of 10 to 20 people, and these 10 to 20 people are from common background. Common background means common social plus economic background, and they come together to achieve the common goal. And how they will achieve the common goal, that is also common among themselves, that is financial inclusion, because ultimately the goal is financial empowerment. However, it is not that we are focusing only on the financial empowerment of the women. Our focus is also on improving their social and economic profile. So this is the type of introduction which you can give under the SHG. Any question of the SHG, you can give this introduction. So now the second part is how SHG and financial inclusion, or how the financial inclusion is a time tested one because of the SHG. Then you can talk about that whenever the group of women come together, what they can do, they can focus on saving. But before saving, there are two options through which they will have to go. First, they can collect the fees, or they can collect the money from the member, or they can ask the bank to give them loan. Okay, now in the first scenario, if the member have collected a good amount of money, it will show the credit worthiness of that particular SHG. In that condition, it will be very easy for the bank to give them loan. This is the first thing. Second is, bank can also give them loan, and this is called SHG bank linkage program. Best example of SHG bank linkage program is ICICI, NABARD. What happens here is, bank can either directly give loan to SHG, or bank first give loan to NGO and then to SHG. These are the two modes through which the SHG bank linkage program operates. Now what happened, that whenever they will have an access to the loan, obviously they will have to open the bank account, otherwise they will not get the loan. Opening of bank account, understood? After that, they will get the loan. What they will do from the loan, they will invest the loan. They will invest the loan in particular industries, for example cottage industry, example papad industry, example jute bag making industry, or they can go for internal lending amongst themselves. They can do anything out of that money. If they are investing in this industry, obviously they will get certain benefits or certain income benefits out of that. Again, it will increase the credit worthiness of that particular SHG, and now again they can ask the bank that whatever the loan you have given to us, we have shown you enough credit worthiness, now give me more loan. So basically in this way, entire SHG and financial inclusion linkage between these two works, and therefore it is being said that the role of SHG in the financial inclusion is the time tested one. But here you are required to give certain data which will substantiate the entire understanding or entire your arguments that how it is time tested. So now I am giving you one data, for example NABARD microfinance report. This report says that around 85 lakh of SHG having the membership of 10 crore, having the balance account of 8,000 crore. Now when you will give this data, then it will substantiate the first statement that how financial inclusion is time tested one. And it is not that whenever I am putting the data of 85 lakh SHG, we have only 85 lakh SHG. According to NABARD, we have approximately 1 crore of SHG. Just they have made the survey of 85 lakh SHG, therefore this report is highlighting this. Understood? So now we are moving to the second part of the question, that is how it is well recognized in the time of pandemic. So basically I can give the example of Kudumsri during the COVID crisis. What Kudumsri did, that even the civil supplies department of the government of Kerala asked the Kudumsri volunteers to prepare the grocery kits for 87 lakhs of the families. Now you can understand the extent and intensity of the SHG working. And they have also opened 1.9 lakh of WhatsApp group. Why they have opened this WhatsApp group? Basically to disseminate the government instruction that how we can break the chain. Therefore Kerala has made a success in the break the chain campaign. So basically, in this way, you have handled the two parts of the question. Now, the third part of the question is basically what is the step taken by the government. Now, under the head of the government, I am again dividing my answer, and it is always advisable for you to do like this. That what is the central government intervention, what is the state government intervention, and what is the intervention of different institutions. Again, I am dividing under RBI is one of the institution that is helping in the SHG promotion, and second is NABARD. So now the very first thing is central government. Now, central government recently come out with Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. Under this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, the limit of collateral for SHG lending has increased from 10 lakh to 20 lakh. And the second is the program called Mahila Kisan Sashastrikaran Pariyojana. Under this Mahila Kisan Sashastrikaran Pariyojana, they are providing financial assistance and other opportunities for the growth of SHG. And another example of the central government intervention, I can also talk about Ajivika Gramin Express Yojana. Ajivika Gramin Express Yojana. Under this program, the entire rural transportation is given in the hand of SHG. So this is the intervention of the central government for the promotion of SHG. Now coming to state government. Now the best example of the state government in the promotion of the SHG is Andhra Pradesh government. They have basically institutionalized the working of SHG. For example, they have created the first group at village level, then at sub-district level, and then at district level. Basically, it helps them in segregating the capacity building or what steps are required for the promotion of particular SHG, which is working at village, sub-district and district level. And the next one is the institution like RBI and NABARD, and we all know the role of NABARD in the promotion of SHG bank linkage program. Now, I can talk about certain initiatives of the NABARD. First of all, NABARD works or NABARD supports the SHG by giving the loan to regional rural bank, and this regional rural bank gives loan to SHG. And the second is they have established microcredit innovation department. Microcredit innovation department. Basically, it helps in promoting SHG bank linkage. And the next program is livelihood and enterprise development program. Livelihood and enterprise development program. According to this program, they are providing a skill building, or they are focusing on a skill building and raising the capacity building of these institutions. So these are the intervention of NABARD. Now the next institution which is helping in the promotion of SHG is RBI. Basically, RBI has come out with the policy that when bank is giving loan to SHG, it will be qualified under priority sector lending. And they have made also the guidelines that the bank can give the loan even to unregistered SHG groups, because we have some of the registered SHG group and some are unregistered SHG group. The loan can be given to them also, and bank can also give them loan without any physical collateral. So these are the steps taken by the government for the promotion of SHG. I hope you are understanding that how you will have to divide your answer and where you need to focus more. And it is a 10-mark question. So therefore, I am not going into the different models for the promotion of SHG. Now, the next question, that in the light of new challenges to the healthcare, discuss the relevance and the feasibility of the social medicine. Now, I will tell you that this question is on tougher side. It is because you don't know about the social medicine, then it will not be easy for you to tackle such question. So therefore, I am here to make your work easy. Work easy simply means that I will have to give certain inputs based on my experience, that how you can tackle such kind of question which is out of league or which you have not prepared. Now, the question is how I will have, or how I would have respond in the examination if I look this term social medicine. Just by looking into the word social medicine, one thing will focus in my mind, that it is something related to social indicators, or it is something related to social aspect. And if anything is related to social aspect, then it will have a spillover effect on economic aspect or economic impact it will have. So basically my question or my answer will revolve around the social economic aspects or imperatives of the new challenges of the healthcare, and how this understanding of social and economic aspect can help in tackling or creating healthier society, or a better condition in which we can survive without any disease. So now just we have the understanding of social medicine like this. But now as I am talking about the social medicine, so I am giving you 4 keywords, and how I am deconstructing these 4 keywords will be the guiding light for you to how to tackle such kind of difficult question in examination. So now basically social medicine, it is not for the first time that after the pandemic we are talking about the social medicine and the family physician. The War Committee in 1945, Bohr Committee has first time talked about that we need family physicians or social physicians, or you can say social medicine. So now the social medicine is a comprehensive care to individual and families by integrating 4 different aspects, that is environment aspect, biomedical aspect, social science aspect, and behavioral aspect. Now, if I know these 4 different keywords, can you relate that what are the new challenges to the healthcare and can integrate with these 4 parameters? Now I am linking it, and you will be very much surprised at how we can address such a typical question in such a simpler manner. For example, just by looking at the environmental aspect, I can talk about the disease because of air pollution, the disease because of water pollution. We can talk about respiratory diseases. We can talk about TB. We can talk about cholera, that is communicable disease. Now biomedical, we all know that the biomedical talks about DNA and RNA. Study of DNA and RNA, that is basically genetic engineering. It will also help in the vaccine development. Now you can relate it to the pandemic like COVID, Ebola, Zika virus, everything. Now the third part is behavioral aspect. Now how I will relate the behavioral aspect? Behavioral aspect, I can talk about drug abuse, rising depression, suicide. Do you know that in India there is 1 death per hour because of suicide? 1 death per hour, 24 deaths in a day. This is the behavioral factors in which so social medicine or the social physicians will be of great help, because he knows that what you think and what do you need at the time of disaster which is going in your mind. It is not that whenever you will visit to the doctor in Gangaram, Max Hospital, Apollo, they will not even talk to you directly and very smoothly. Just by having the relationship or the professional relation between the patient and the doctor is not going to solve the problem of depression and the drug abuse. There should be someone who will understand your problem, or you can feel that he is the part of my family member. Then you can easily communicate to that particular doctor. So this is related to the behavioral aspect. Now social science. Why do we need to understand the social science? Because it is related to population, it is related to hunger, it is related to poverty, it is related to malnutrition. So now you can understand that how the rising population, rising hunger, rising poverty, rising malnutrition is impacting our life, or is a new challenge to the healthcare. So now to address such kind of the new healthcare problem, or how we can address it, then we can talk about that in this context the social medicine has a feasibility because of its understanding of the individualistic needs, understanding of the family needs, rather than just a professional relation between the doctor and the patient. So this question looks and such kind of question, it is advice. I am giving you just an advice to you. Don't be panic. Your focus should be on that if your aspirant is getting 4, you should get 5. If aspirant is getting 3, you should get 4. That's all. It is not that you can make an excellent answer of such kind of question. It is not feasible. So इस चक्कर में मत फंसो, एग्जाम निकालना है, बात खत्म. तो ये इस पे फोकस करो. How I can get 1 marks more than my competitor, and this is the idea of deconstructing any typical question. So now moving to question number 8. Street vendors are an integral part of urban economics around the world, but often fraught with livelihood challenges. Now, basic information that you should know or you should talk about, that how they are integral part. This is very important. Then you will have to talk about the challenges that they are facing. And now, the third part, effectiveness of the state. Now I know that you can easily talk about that we have a Street Vendor Protection of the Livelihood Act 2014, but you will have to focus on effectiveness of such a step rather than just putting that what are the steps taken by the government will not give you the marks. Understood? So now the philosophy of the question is basically related to the understanding that do you understand that how a street vendor is playing a leading role in your life. After that, you can easily maintain the flow in your answer if you are addressing this part. So now, what you can do in introduction, that you can easily talk about the definition of the street vendor and national policy on a street vendor 2004 defines that a street vendor is a person who is selling goods and services without having permanently built structure. Without having permanently built structure. Now what you can do? After that, you can say that around 10 million of street vendors in India according to Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation. So this is the thing which you can give in the introduction. After that, you will also have to talk about that how they are integral. How they are integral. Now they are integral in the term how they are integral. You can just give a case study. I am giving you the case study of Bhadra. This is a Bhadra market of Ahmedabad, and this Bhadra market generates 95 crore of rupees per year. Now you can understand that how they are integral. And according to World Research Institute, about 25% of the non-agricultural GDP comes from this particular street vending. And also you can relate it to that you can get flowers, fruits, vegetables, and you can also get old cars from the street vendor. So now you can understand the range and the diversity of items which is being sold by the street vendor, and thus they are integral to the urban economics. It is not that for everything you will go to the mall. You will have to rely on the urban street vendor. It is because they are providing you the fresh goods, fresh services at your doorsteps. So they are integral to the urban economics. So now we will move into the second part of the question, that they are fraught with the challenges. So what are the challenges that the street vendor face? The very first challenge, that they are neither protected by government nor by NGO because they don't have any union. They do not have any trade union. Understood? Now you all know that they will have to give the bribe to the policeman, to the MCD, to the municipal corporation. So you can easily give this point. But to substantiate such point, which is very much shallow in nature, you can use any report or the findings of that report. So here I am giving International Journal of Economic and Management Study. This report says that they are forced to pay about 15 to 20% of their daily income as a bribe. Then the another issue is fluctuating income. Now it depends upon your smartness that how you are linking the fluctuating income to the multidimensional issue. For example, I can talk about that whenever there is a fluctuating income, then they cannot make an expenditure on nutritious item, because they will have to use that income for the basic needs. They cannot invest that particular amount for the education of their children. If they are not giving education and proper health to the children, then it will basically impact the prosperity of the nation. And when the prosperity of the nation is hampered, we cannot reap the benefits of demographic dividend. If we cannot reap the benefits of demographic dividend, then at the rate 75 document of the Niti Aayog talks about New India, how we can achieve the New India. We cannot achieve New India. In this way, you can integrate the things. You will have to understand and focus on linking the things. Understood? Now, after that, another issue you can talk about that the encroachment of the public spaces. On the humanitarian ground, you can say that okay, let them encroach the space where they will go. But basically, encroachment is a legal issue. Whenever there is an encroachment, you can easily see in the old Rajendra Nagar, whenever the MCD van comes, how basically it creates the chaos amongst the street vendors. They are picking up their entire products, entire goods, and trying to hide out from the particular MCD officers. So in this way, encroachment of the public officer is also an important issue. The next is negative impact of the online shopping. Negative impact of online. तुम खुद ही देखो ना, अभी के समय क्या होता है कि अगर हमें अपने मोबाइल का कवर भी चाहिए तो we don't go to the Gafar market because we can easily order from the Amazon. Okay, so negative impact of the online shopping is also one of the issue. Okay, so now I can also talk about some of the Supreme Court cases which I don't find can be used in this answer, but yes, it will help you in writing the answer. So just I am giving you an additional information that Supreme Court in Sodhan Singh versus NDMC says that hawking on a pavement is a fundamental right. Basically, hawking and street vendor on the pavement is a fundamental right. And also in the Bombay Hawker Union versus BMC, Supreme Court has said that the authorities should demarcate that what is hawking zone and what is no hawking zone. Okay, this can be used in another answer, not in this answer. I don't find that it can be used, but if you can use that then I will appreciate it. Okay, so now another thing is that effectiveness of the step you will have to find. But before that, you need to know that what is the act or what is the step taken by the government. So I have just talked about that we have a street vendor protection of livelihood and regulation, Livelihood and Regulation Act 2014. Understood? This street vendor act says any street vendor who is more than 14 years of the age needs to be registered with town vending committee. Now, this town vending committee comprises of 40% of a street vendor, 10% of the civil society people, and 50% from the municipal corporation and residential association. The next thing this act talks about that the local authorities should demarcate that what is no vending zone, what is restricted vending zone, and what is free vending zone. This is the act on which talks about the needs and concerns of the street vendor. But we will examine the effectiveness. Now in the effectiveness, it simply means that you will have to highlight the challenges that this act faces. Now, whenever you will analyze or you will make an analysis of this act, then you will find that in India, approximately we have 7,263 towns, and we can find that in only 33% of the town we have town vending committee. Okay, and also in most of the states we do not have the implementation of the act. They have not even notified this act. This is the issue. Whenever you are not notifying the act, how you can be the concern with the issue of the street vendor. Third is there is an issue of jurisdiction also. For example, there is an argument that how parliament can enact a law on the street vendor when item number 5 of a state list talks about municipal corporation and local panchayat. So basically a state government should make the law, but parliament is making the law, therefore it is not too much effective. So these are the arguments which you can give in your answer. So now what should be done or what is your suggestion? Now in suggestion you can easily give that we can have the SHG, urban SHG, but we have the rural SHG, we can have urban SHG. You can say that we can form the cooperatives for them. Okay, now you can say that we can include vendor, in town development plan. Whenever we are drawing the master development plan for the town, we can include vendor in that. This can be your point for the suggestion. But to substantiate the suggestion, you can say that this is the recommendation of National Alliance of Street Vendor. This will give a weight to the answer, and weight to the answer is very important to fetch marks. And how you can bring the weight? Committee, article, Supreme Court cases. These are the three things through which you can bring the weight in your answer. Understood? So in this way, you can easily tackle this question. So now moving to question number 9, and I must have to admit that this question is a little bit complex to understand and complex to decipher. So basically, in such kind of question, I will give you one mantra, and you can use that mantra in any question coming from with having the essence like this question. So now what this question says? This question is basic information asking about that whether do you understand by the term governance or not. Very important or very simple understanding. Or if you understand the governance, whether you have the narrow understanding or wide understanding. Okay, I will come into that what is wide understanding of the governance, what is narrow understanding of the governance. So what is the philosophy of the question? You must be aware of the fact that what is the philosophy behind the governance? Is it only about maximum governance, or is it about accountability, outcome, efficiency? So we will look into, and for that we will take the help of World Bank parameters of the good governance. ये याद रखना, कोई भी आंसर इजीली सॉल्व होगा. Okay, so now coming to the basic demand of the question. So whenever we are talking about maximum governance, you can use in introduction that the government call for minimum government, maximum governance has the essence of eliminating the government interference. यही तो मतलब है क्यों हम कह रहे हैं कि मैक्सिमम गवर्नेंस होगा. गवर्नमेंट की इंटरफेरेंस को हमें कम करना है. What is the consequence of this? It will increase efficiency. Understood? But now, can you say that only by increasing efficiency in the governance we can achieve the end point of governance, that is happiness of the citizen? No. So basically we will have to focus on another parameters of the good governance given by World Bank. So another parameters are transparency and accountability. Second is participation of the citizen. Third is rule of law. Fourth is responsiveness. Fourth is consensus oriented. Fifth is efficiency and effective, which we have talked in the question. Understood? In this way you will have to use such keywords in your answer, and the question ultimately lies on the accountability. So we will focus more on accountability and less on these parameters. Understood? So now coming to accountability. What do you understand by accountability? But before giving the answer of this question, I am just asking you what are the types of accountability mechanism we have. We have two types of accountability mechanism: traditional accountability, contemporary accountability. Traditional accountability means 3C. What is 3C? CBI, CVC, CAT. Contemporary accountability, social audit. Understood? So now what is social audit? Social audit is basically whatever the projects government is planning for the beneficiaries, beneficiary will decide that how to prioritize the projects, and they will also go into that how we can utilize the government fund effectively. Then they will also identify, that is called accurate identification of requirement. Why social audit is necessary? Because social audit talks about monitoring and evaluation of the project, and when the monitoring and evaluation of the project is being done by the beneficiary, then obviously it will bring these three different parameters in the particular project, and it will increase the outcome and accountability at the same time. Understood? Now this is all about the accountability which you can mention. Another thing which you can add in your answer, because the accountability is a separate demand of the question, then you can say accountability in the governance is being ensured through the three different organs of the government. Now the three different organs of the government is executive accountability, judicial accountability, legislative accountability. Executive accountability is enforced by Civil Service Code of Conduct. Judicial accountability is enforced through writ petition. Legislative accountability is ensured through question being asked during question hour, 0 hour, and then you can also talk about whenever the general public importance question is raised on the floor of the house, through which the accountability is being ensured. Now the next thing which you are required to talk about is basically with respect to participation, and how the participation is a key element in achieving the governance according to the principles of the World Bank. Then participation of the citizen can be or is started from when the citizen asking for information. How the citizen will ask for information? Through RTI. Then when they are asking for the information, it is not that they are limiting themselves, they are also required to give suggestion to the government. When they are giving suggestion also, they can demand for the better services, and they can also participate, and they will have to participate in the decision making. Okay, when these four different elements of the participation is met, then only we can say that we have achieved the participation in the real sense. And the best example where the citizens are participating in the decision making is Nagaland. Nagaland Communitization of Public Institution and Service Act 2002. According to this act, the citizens are participating in the decision making of the government projects. And lastly, you can also talk about citizen charter, and in the conclusion you can use Sevottam model. Sevottam model means Seva plus Uttam. Understood? And this can be achieved. Once it is achieved, then only you can say that the governance is well measured. Understood? In this way, you can address such typical question very simply. Now the last question is, India has made a significant progress on access to schooling, but dropout rates and the low levels of learning remain challenges for the state and the central government. Suggest some innovative models to increase quality of education. Now this question looks very difficult. For example, it is asking for you to mention some innovative models you will have to insert here. So now basically what you can do here is you can talk something about with respect to the data, that what is our data talking about enrollment, what is our data talking about the drop rate and the learning outcome. This is important to get marks in such kind of question, because here everything is focusing on your data understanding, because you will have to substantiate this fact of increased access in schooling and reduction in the level of learning. So now basically enrollment, we all know that the enrollment was, gross enrollment ratio was 81.6% in 2009 and 2010. Okay, in 2000 and 2001, the 81.6% of the gross enrollment ratio, which increased to 96.9% in 2011-2012, which is today at 99%. So you can easily say that it is near to the universalization. And the best part is, whenever you will look into the increase in the gross enrollment ratio, then you will find that for boys, gross enrollment ratio has increased by 4.5% between these years. But the same GER for the girls has increased by 26.4% between these years. Okay. After that, you will have to talk about something with respect to the drop rate. So basically, drop rate is not till the primary level of education, but when the student moves from primary to secondary, then we are looking into that there is an increase in the drop rate. However, the overall drop rate has also reduced from 6.8% to 4.3% in 2012. Okay. So now these are the certain factors that why there is a drop rate amongst the girl student, because of the patriarchal mindset, because of the distance of the school, because the primary school, we have the primary school within 1 kilometer of the radius after the implementation of right to Education Act. And the third is lack of income of the parent. They think that how and why we should invest in the girls education. Ultimately they will have to go into another house. Then lack of infrastructure simply means that the lack of toilet facilities, okay, lack of drinking water supply. These are the things which hindrance into the educational cycle of the girl child, and therefore they drop out from the school. So now we will have to focus on the innovative mechanism which we can give to increase the which we can give to increase the learning outcome and also decrease the drop rate. But before that, we will also have to talk something about the learning outcome. And in this context, we will use AACR report, that is the Pratham. This report says that 40% of class 1 student cannot recognize letter, and more than 50% of class 5 students cannot read class 2 text. This is the reflection of the learning outcomes. Understood? After that, you will have to give certain innovative mechanism. Now, certain innovative mechanism, but before that, you will have to highlight, or you will have to make your frame of mind in such a way that what are the different issue in our primary education. Then you can talk about that we need to leverage the technology. Then we will need to improve our pedagogy. Then we need to focus on our teacher training. Then we need to focus on our governance. These are the things which you can mention in your answer. So now, here the best example I can give of Kerala, because in Kerala, the teachers in the government school of Kerala are using application like Dr. GeoGebra. Why they are using this application? To study geometry and electronics, so that it will be very easy for the students to grasp the important or complexities of the geography. Okay. Now the pedagogy. How we can improve the pedagogy? Here I can give the example of, we can go for the flip methodology. What is flip methodology? In this flip methodology, the teachers, what they do, that the teachers relegate the role of resource or material provide via email or internet. क्या करते हैं वो, ईमेल और इंट्रानेट से रिसोर्स प्रोवाइड करा देते हैं, और फिर ये स्टूडेंट का काम होता है कि वो लोग कॉन्सेप्ट को गैदर करते हैं, अपने नॉलेज को कंस्ट्रक्ट करते हैं और उसके बाद टीचर से डिस्कस करते हैं. तो इट इज़ मोर ऑफ ए टू वे कम्युनिकेशन वट वी आर लुकिंग इन टू आवर एजुकेशन सिस्टम, कि टीचर आता है बोल के चला जाता है, जैसे मैं कर रहा हूँ. तो तुम्हें क्या करना है, मैंने तुम्हें इतने सारे इन्फॉर्मेशन दिए, तुम्हें अपने कॉन्सेप्ट बनाना है. ठीक है. This is the flip methodology, and this is being used in Indian School of Business, which can be used in the primary school. Then we can go for peer teaching. What is this peer teaching? देखो, कुछ स्टूडेंट्स अच्छे होते हैं क्लास में, तो peer teaching का मतलब ये होता है कि स्टूडेंट्स who are doing good are to be chosen to take over the subject teacher. मान लो कुछ अच्छे स्टूडेंट है, क्योंकि ये स्टूडेंट की बात अच्छे से समझता है, तो जो अच्छे स्टूडेंट है वो कल से हिस्ट्री पढ़ाएगा. ठीक है. जैसे मैं अच्छा नहीं पढ़ाऊंगा, तुम लोग वीडियो देख रहे हो, तुम में से जो अच्छा होगा वो दूसरे को पढ़ाएगा. दिस इज ए पीयर टीचिंग. ओके. तो दिस हैज बीन विजिबल इन कनकपुरा तालुक इन महाराष्ट्र. एक कनकपुरा तालुक है महाराष्ट्र में, यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट स्कूल है. यहाँ पर क्या होता है कि टीचर्स तो पढ़ाते हैं, लेकिन कुछ दिन के बाद जो स्टूडेंट बहुत ही अच्छा करता है वो अपने पीयर ग्रुप को पढ़ाता है. तो दीज आर द थिंग्स विच यू कैन मेंशन इन योर आंसर विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू पेडागॉगी. नाउ यू कैन ऑल्सो टॉक अबाउट that in the terms of pedagogy we can implement the field trips. जैसे मान लो कि हिमालय नेशनल पार्क पढ़ना है तुम्हें, तो हिमालय चले जाओ. ठीक है. बायोडाइवर्सिटी के बारे में पढ़ना है तो वेस्टर्न घाट चले जाओ. तो चलो ठीक है, मतलब इट इज़ ए गुड सजेशन, बिकॉज यू विल हैव टू गिव सर्टेन इनोवेटिव सजेशन. वेदर इट इज़ टू मच फिजिबल और नॉट, दिस इज नॉट योर कंसर्न, यू विल हैव टू जस्ट गिव द आंसर. तो फील्ड ट्रिप्स इज ऑल्सो वन काइंड ऑफ पेडागॉगी. नाउ टीचर ट्रेनिंग. Now in the teacher training, what we can do? We will have to focus on increasing the training for the teachers by establishing the training institute. Okay. Now in the governance, what we can do? We will have to focus on social audit of the school management system. Okay. And also what we can do in the terms of increasing infrastructure, we will have to, or we can think of HEFA like arrangement. What is HEFA? This is the higher education financing agency. This is a corpus fund for the tertiary education. We can think of some arrangement like this in the primary education also to increase the infrastructure. So in the innovation also, I have divided my answer: leveraging technology, teacher training, governance, infrastructure, pedagogy. 5 points, and under that I have given 2 examples in each point. Now I can easily secure, or I can easily fetch at least 5.5 marks out of 10. Understood? So I hope that you are understanding that how to tackle the question on the governance. Now the next test will be of international relation. Then I will tell you some of the keywords which will be very easy for you to write any answer on the international relation. Okay. So that will be the end of the GS paper 2, but you can connect to me and can ask any question on the governance which has been asked by UPSC, which you think that how we can address such question. You are always welcome at the rate Saurabh Thinking Palette. You can just drop the message on the Telegram channel and I will be with you. I will be available for clearing your doubts. I hope you are enjoying the entire first video and the second video. So share with you.